Hi, everybody, and welcome back to video number 5 in Chapter 8. And when we left off, we were looking at the retail inventory methods with markdowns and markdowns, markups and markdowns. Okay, so if I look back to review here, we have beginning inventories of $500 here, purchases here, and then our markups, that's our cost in our retails, and markups of $3,000, markup cancellations of $1,000, markdowns of $2,500, markdown cancellations of $2,000, and finally sales net $25,000. So Infusion then has this beginning inventory, 500, and purchases $20,000. So merchandise available for sale is $20,500. We'll add the markups less the markup cancellations. And that is going to take us to $36,000 beginning inventory plus purchases minus, or at, in addition, the $2,000 markups, net markups, for a total of $38,000. So now I can do a cost to retail ratio by taking 20,500 and dividing it by 38,000 for 53.9%. Now, in alpha, we're going to back out our markdowns, 2,500, less the markdown cancellations. That'll be $500 net. And we're going to subtract that from 38,000 here to get 37,500. Now we can now calculate our net markdowns as a cost to retail ratio of 20,500 divided by 37,500. That gives us 54.7%. And so now I can multiply that through and subtract out my net sales here. And that's going to give us our ending inventory at retail, $12,500. Fairly convoluted there, but I think you can follow the example. All right, so the computations for Infusion are based on this ending inventory at retail times the cost ratio. That's going to give us the value of ending inventory. So in assumption alpha, that was $12,000, $12,500 times 53.9%. And then under assumption B, it was 54.7%. So okay, so we're going to assume Infusion purchased 2 items, $5 a piece. The original sales price was $10. One item was subsequently written down to $2. Assuming no sales for the period, if markdowns are considered in the cost to retail ratio, this is assumption B, the cost method, under which we compute the ending inventory as shown. So here's our purchases, cost. Our retail was $20, right? And our ending inventory at retail, $8. And we can now take this $12 cost to retail percentage of 83.3% and multiply it times $12 to get $10 ending inventory at cost. Okay, so now we assume the same situations here. If markdowns are not considered in the cost of retail assumption, This is assumption alpha, the conventional method. Now we do it a little bit differently. Here is our cost, 10 bucks, $20 retail. That's going to be a cost to retail ratio of 50%. Subtract out markdowns, and that's going to give us ending inventory at retail $12. And that could be calculated by taking $12, multiply that times 50%. That'll give us our ending inventory at cost, which is equal to $6. Now, the following is the ending inventory for infusion using the conventional method at the lower of cost or market. Now, here's our totals, $20,500 for cost and $36,000 retail. And we make an adjustment here for markups, $2,000, we get to $38,000, and we back out our markdown net of $500, gives us $37,500. We subtract the sales net, we get our ending inventory at retail of $12,500. Okay, the following is the ending inventory for fusion using the conventional method at the lower of cost or market. We'll take the cost of goods available and then divide into that original retail price of goods available plus net markups. So those numbers were $20,500 divided by 38,000. Gives us 53.9%. We multiply that times the 12,500, the ending inventory at the lower of cost or market, right? And that will give us our $66,737.50. All right, special items related to retail method. We have several of them here. Freight costs, purchase returns, purchase discounts and allowances, transfers in, normal shortages, abnormal shortages, and employee discounts. So here, extreme sport apparel is shown with costs, freight in, less purchase returns, total cost $30,100. Retail for $58,800. We have net markups, abnormal shortage, $2,000, gives me goods available for sale of $28,900 at cost and $65,800 retail. So then we make an adjustment here for markdowns. Here the net markdowns, $1,400. Sales revenue less less sales returns, $35,100. Employee discounts, $800. And normal shortage, $1,300. Gives us $27,200. So our cost to retail ratio is this $28,900 divided by the $65,800, which is 43.9%. So our ending inventory at lower of cost or market will be the 43.9% times this $27,200, which equals $11,940.80. So if we look at this and evaluate the retail inventory method, why would we use it? We would use it for the following reasons. One, here, to permit the computation of net income without a physical inventory. Number two, here, control measure in determining inventory shortages. And number three, insurance information in case of fire, flood, or other casualties. Some companies refine the retail method by computing inventory separately by departments or classes of merchandise with similar gross profits. So let's take a look at that. Boylan Incorporated had beginning inventory of $24,000 at cost, $40,000 at retail. Net purchases were $240,000 at cost, $350,000 at retail. Net markups were $10,000. Net markdown were $7,000, and sales revenue was $301,000. So they want you to compute ending inventory at cost using the conventional retail method. So what we would do is we would lay those numbers in. Here's our cost here, right? And our retail associated with that. And we had the net markups on top of that, which took it to $400,000. Now on the retail side, we have our net markdowns, $7,000, and our sales revenue, $301,000. So we back that out of $400,000, we get $92,000, right? And so we compute the cost to retail ratio by taking our cost here, $264,000, divided by our retail, $400,000, and that gives us 66%. 66% times this $92,000 we just calculated gives us $60,720. Okay, we're going to explain how to report and analyze inventory. We have major types of disclosures indicated here. Financial reporting for inventories is extensive, and here are some major types of disclosures. Here, the first one, the basis on which the company states its inventories amounts, lower of cost or net realizable value, or lower of cost or market. Number two here, the method used in determining the cost, specific identification, FIFO, average cost, LIFO. Three, the composition of inventory. For example, a manufacturer should report the relative mix of raw materials, work in process, and finished goods. And here, number four, then, the significant or unusual financing arrangements related to those inventories. Examples include transaction with related parties, product financing arrangements, non-cancelable purchase commitments, involuntary liquidation of LIFO inventories, and pledging of inventories as collateral. Companies should present inventories pledged as collateral for a loan in the current asset sections rather than as an offset to the liability. Okay then, inventory standards require consistent application of costing methods, I think you know that, from one period to the next. Pros and cons of inventory management. And here we have high inventory, low inventory. The pros of high inventory is we give the customers lots of options. However, the cons, it's very expensive carrying a lot of inventory. Carrying costs are a lot. Of course, lower carrying costs are better. However, you can have stockouts, lost sales, and disgruntled customers as a result. So inventory management is a lot like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? We want the porridge not to be too hot, too cold, but just right. Okay, that looks like a good place for us to end this video. And when we return, we'll take a look at inventory management - ratios. Until that time, bye for now.